Okay, we're back in the easy content zone on my channel here, doing stuff that's pretty easy to make fun of. And sometimes I think that they might actually do this because they know a lot of people are going to make fun of it. And they're like, well, any attention is good attention, or whatever. This one people are sharing on Twitter, and it's pretty funny. It's nothing new. I mean, these guys, these kind of like American right-wingers, they kind of, they're like, oh, freedom. We need freedom of speech. But they all say the exact same crap. And this video is no exception. So it's pretty funny. Let's watch this and make fun of this.
I had season tickets to the LA Kings. Hockey is my favorite sport. So I actually had season tickets when they went to the Stanley Cup. And won
Showing off?
By sheer good coincidence. And I love the fact that
By the way, this guy is one of the biggest creeps on the internet, really, unfortunately. Because he has the look of a kindly old man, but he's doing this weird right-wing propaganda channel for oil companies. But I kind of like that he likes hockey. Because maybe it's because I'm a hockey fan and it's more rare in the United States, but okay, that's not the point.
I would sit next to somebody, of course, a total stranger, who had nothing in common with me. Might have, for all I know, the guy was a member of the Communist Party USA, and I didn't care. And he didn't care. We were Kings fans. It is the place of unity where you're all cheering together, every color, every race.
And by the way, it is not the place for unity. I remember my uncle took me to a hockey game when I was, in grade school, and he almost got in a fight with a guy when he was supposed to be, taking care of this, 8-year-old, I just want to throw that in there.
Every religion, everything. You don't give a damn. And the left has ruined it. Sports is now politics.
Okay, so the left has ruined sports because it's now politics. They're definitely talking about, I guess they're talking about Colin Kaepernick, and LeBron James talks about he talks about Black Lives Matter and stuff. So they're talking about the absolute tragedy. These freedom of speech lovers are talking about the absolute horrific tragedy that these guys who are famous, who have a platform, voice their opinions about things that that affect them and affect their communities. These freedom of speech guys who love freedom of speech, who love to blab on, they're like, they need to shut up because I got And by the way, nobody's talking about politics at hockey. So I don't know what this guy's like. I got season tickets to the Kings. Yeah, you're not going to have any problem with politics. They're going to drop tickets from that blimp that goes around in the hockey games, if they still do that. I don't know. I haven't been there in a while. And you're probably getting, you can get in a fight in the parking lot if you want, usually at a hockey game. That's it. And by the way, okay, let's just go into this now about sports. Oh, sports used to be not political, but now they're political because some people said things that I don't like. Some guy takes a knee during the national anthem. Here, this is from The Guardian. This is a good thing if you want to read about this. The bombastic pre-game spectacles of patriotism that had become commonplace at NFL games began to make sense in 2015 after a report by Republican Senators John McCain and Jeff Flake, two really cool guys, revealed the Department of Defense had spent $6.8 million of taxpayer money among more than 50 professional teams across the NFL, NBA, MLB, MLS, and NASCAR. Weirdly, NHL not in there. So I think old Denny Pragues is okay. In return, the teams promised to organize displays of national pride, including the honoring of members of the armed forces, surprise military homecomings, and on-field color guard and re-enlistment ceremonies. The co-opting of America's most popular institutions as recruiting tools went by an easy-to-remember name, paid patriotism. So it's kind of funny that these guys have such a problem with politics and sports, but they're not talking about this stuff. Kind of weird. They're talking about, Colin Kaepernick, always. That's their guy who they hate. And who knows, maybe LeBron James, because LeBron James talks about political issues. Weird that they don't mention this. They don't mention the fact that there's money pouring into these things to do these political displays. Interesting. And this honestly, this goes back all the way to World War One. They started, at baseball games, they started doing the national anthem, and it was purely political. People were so disheartened by the absolute horror and tragedy of World War One that they were like, maybe we gotta get people, we gotta get some patriotism in here. And it's a whole complicated history of these, post World War One, these institutions, sports institutions, wanting to stay sort of, wanting to be viewed as necessary to the country and very important to the country and to the government. So it's completely tied to politics, and as you can see here, financially tied. These guys aren't belly aching and whining and complaining and peeing their pants about the fact that it's paid political displays. Yet when a guy who just happens to be a black guy, who these guys seem to have some issues with, if you check out PragerU or any of these guys' content, especially Ben Shapiro's one of these guys, especially Ben Shapiro, not a huge fan,
And it's ended one of the great joys of life.
So there are a couple of things that
he's right. Dennis Prager is absolutely right on this. Like when I'm watching football, right, and I have to and they cut it out probably when it's televised, the guys kneeling or not standing for the national anthem or whatever. So just the thought, because these networks know people are such babies that they're going to stop watching and the ratings are going to go down because a guy kneels for a minute and a half. I'm such a child and a baby, such a diaper baby, that if I just to think that somebody is not standing for the national anthem, which is a paid political display at these sporting events, I get so upset that I poop my diapers and I get a frowny face just because I have to even think about it. And God forbid if I had to I'm watching my 80-inch giant screen TV that oil money propaganda paid for. If I had to turn and see a guy, in the corner of my screen who's kneeling for something that he believes in, and I'm a huge free speech guy, and I have to just look a couple inches over and see that, I get so upset that I can't watch, and I have to pee my pants. Just like these guys. Just like these slobs sitting in this weird car. Is this Adam Carolla's garage? This guy who pretends to be like a working hard hat guy who's been in Hollywood for the last 40 years? Awesome, dude. Let's watch more.
Obviously is lying about here. So whenever people say on the right that sports has been ruined, and it has. I mean, I'm a huge...
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely ruined. I can't even watch it. It's just it's the same with movies. One of my favorite movies, I just rewatched The Thing by John Carpenter. And there's 30 seconds in that movie that I don't like. It's when there's a scene where they just cut to the dog who's infected with the Thing virus. They cut to him and I feel like the cut's unnecessary. Now that movie's ruined. Because of that tiny part that I had to look at for, half a minute. Ruined. It's ruined. They've ruined sports. Who believes this stuff? This is amazing. Another thing that I love is this guy, Ben Shapiro. I can't remember where, maybe on the Majority Report or something. They played this clip of this guy where he's like, I'm taking my 100 employees and I'm moving out of Los Angeles. I'm moving out of Los Angeles with my 100 employees. He makes a big point of saying that he has 100 employees all the time. He's showing off that he's I employ 100 people or whatever. First of all, you don't employ 100 people, okay? The people who pay you employ 100 people. The two fracking billionaires who started your website, they employ 100 people, okay? That's who's taking you. And again, I think it's funny that this dude has lived in LA his whole life, and he's like, I'm against everything And everything that's to the left of anything to the left of like Strom Thurmond or something is like is ruining the world. But I live in LA. Fucking lunatic.
Baseball fan particularly, but also a big basketball fan, and both of my teams this year are actually quite good. The White Sox are great this year, and the Celtics are very good this year. And
that's another weird thing. When I was watching this video, this dude grew up in LA, and his favorite sports teams are from Chicago and Boston. It's just, I mean, it's not a big deal, but it's something odd about that. It's more kind of you live in LA, but you're like pretending to not be an LA guy.
I have not watched any of it because I'm not going to watch a sport where they've allowed this to bleed onto the field. They always say, well, sports was always political. I mean, go all the way back. Muhammad Ali was political. He wasn't political in the ring, right? He was political out of the ring. Once it starts to infuse your actual viewing experience of the sport, now you have taken what we do for a living and you have placed that into the field of play.
Again, no discussion. He's saying like, well, sports is ruined because it's on the field. Yeah, the national anthem and all these paid military displays are on the field. So why are they just talking about why are they talking about the left? What about that is the left? I would imagine the left is very anti putting the military and like recruitment tools on the field. Am I pointing out like the most obvious am I falling for a trap here? I always feel when I watch these stupid like right-wing propaganda videos, I'm like, I'm just falling for a trick to make fun of this so that the video spreads more, right? Like nobody's this stupid. Well, I think actually these guys aren't that stupid. I think they are like, this is what these dummies want to hear. Like after they yell cut in this weird garage, Jay Leno garage that they're in, they yell cut, and these guys are like, I can't believe these dummies buy this.
And you've allowed outside forces that really divide us to bleed into a place where we at least had a distraction. I mean, literally the word sport comes from the old French de sport, which means to distract. I mean, that was what sport.
It comes from the old French word de sport, which means to distract. I go to watch sports to do a distraction. That's like also a really annoying thing. Like, ooh, I gotta escape the world. And even if this were true, what they're saying did make sense. And I didn't bring up the whole thing about the military paying to get these things in the first place, which, okay, they still wouldn't have a case. But if some football player like stopped mid-game and he was like, hold on, I want to talk about the Electoral College and how it doesn't represent people properly. And like he like misses the pass because he's like saying that through a loudspeaker. Then you still wouldn't have a case because that's important and the guy has a platform and he's using it for something far better than just enriching himself. But I would maybe be like, I guess I can see what you're saying. But these guys are literally whining and bellyaching about something that's being forced on these guys to participate on, these sports players who have devoted their lives to being good at a sport, not part of a propaganda campaign. And these guys aren't, again, they're not even mentioning it. Well, of course they're not mentioning it because they're morons. They're paid morons. So I'm just talking to myself at this point.
Sports were meant to do. And the great good that sports was that sports were a way to distract you from real tribal affinities and tribal divisions in favor of fake tribal affinities and tribal divisions, right? Mm-hmm. Like
So he's saying that because in the real world people have real differences. People have real quote unquote tribal differences. And he's using tribe in a way that means more like, I guess he's talking about political affiliation. Like, oh, I believe that there should be the minimum wage should be higher. I believe that there should be, Medicare for all or something. And he's comparing this to the type of tribe that would, I guess, war with each other, in thousands of years ago. And that's like sports is like a surrogate for that, or a replacement for that. This is like, I feel like he just kind of memorizes things and says them, but they don't pass any kind of thought filter. So basically we're to think that, like, because there are people who have differences, there are people who are not like me. Like, I think that people should be able to access medical care and should never go bankrupt because they get sick. And we should follow every other country in the industrialized world which has some kind of public single-payer healthcare thing. That's a political view that I believe. But you know what? When I go to watch football, I pretend that I'm the Miami team. I'm the Miami team, and those guys believe in Medicare for all. And then the guys from Sacramento, the guys from Los Angeles, they don't believe that. And so when I see them fighting, I'm like, oh, this is a different kind of fighting, where it's not, the stakes aren't as high. Who would ever? This makes no sense in any way. I mean, yeah, like people have people battle with ideas, but it's not like anyone would go to a football game to say, you know what, I want to stop thinking about the fact that I think we should have Medicare for all for a while, so I'm going to watch people fighting in a different way, and that'll make me forget about the Medicare for all fight. What the fuck? This is the stupidest shit. Okay.
And as you say that you were sitting next to some guy and you had real disagreements with him, but you would never know that. Instead, you as Kings fans were sitting there hating the Blackhawks fans, right? And after the game, you didn't hate the Blackhawks fans because you didn't know them, and who cares, right? None of it really mattered.
Again, talk to my uncle on this, okay? When I went to, I'm not going to name the hockey teams. I think it was the Bruins, actually. I think it was the Bruins who he almost got in a fight with, a Bruins fan.
Matters. The fake tribal affinity was something very good for the country because the underlying message was you can have fake tribal affinity when at the end of the day you're all friends. Mm-hmm. You can't have fake tribal affinity when serious issues are at stake. And what the left has said is that the issues that are at stake are so large and so powerful that we are not allowed to have fake tribal affinities anymore. You can't sit next to somebody who roots for the same team as you if you guys vote differently in the 2020 election.
That guy's still going to be sitting next to you. That guy's still going to be sitting next to you regardless. What are you talking about? So when you go to a football game and there's some people kneeling, in his mind, everybody is like, I'm for kneeling. Hi, my name is Ryan Brown, and I'm for kneeling. And then a guy next to me is like, my name is Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and I'm not for kneeling. And now I can't have a good time watching the sporting games because I'm sitting next to my sworn enemy.
Election.
These people are morons. Like, we know that, right? Like, even like Adam Carolla, I want to give Adam Carolla like the Henry Rollins pass of like, this guy, he's just doing work because he doesn't want to work construction. But you're hanging out with these kooks, and these guys got millions of followers. I mean, every time I go on like a podcast app or YouTube or iTunes or whatever, I got to look at this guy's mug. Because, I mean, he's of course being advertised with all this, dark money and all this stuff. But people follow it. So, this guy doesn't get a pass either because you're hanging out with them. You're pushing this. You're pushing people to be stupider, basically, to not challenge these kind of lazy beliefs and lazy thinking.
You shouldn't be allowed to be friends with that person. You shouldn't be allowed to talk about anything that distracts you because the issues at hand are so important and so vital that distraction merely distracts from something like a solution to these big problems that live out there in the universe.
Weird. Still no mention of the military money here into the sports organization.
And that's devastating.
Subscribe today at PragerU. Okay, so that's how they do it. They get somebody they make the dumbest videos possible with just absolute brain dead moron ideas, talking points. And then they're like, oh, people will make fun of this, and we'll just plug our link. So at least our link will get out there. Yeah, absolutely stupid. Why? Oh, I was gonna say, why are we still talking? Well, the reason we're still talking about this is because part of this is, and it's the same. It's the same with like Democrat, the Democratic Party, of course, the Republican Party, and these guys. Is there's such a narrow set of issues that the quote unquote left in the United States cares about. It basically comes down to two things. It's a working healthcare system and kids not going into debt because of college. And I talked to somebody a couple months ago who lives in Europe. I'm not going to say where. I'm not going to out this person, but they live in Europe. And just like I'm not going to out the hockey team that my uncle is a fan of. And she was talking about how it would have been such a horrifying decision as a 18-year-old or 19-year-old or whatever to make a huge financial decision like college, for it to not just be a life decision for it to be a debt decision. And she's like, I don't know why you guys still do that or why you would put that pressure on people. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, these are things that are also very popular in the country. Some kind of public college and universal health care. There's majorities for these things in this country. When people are polled, it's like something like 60% want universal health care, 60% want publicly funded college, so that people don't have to worry about going into debt to choose what they want to do. I think this is still the thing, but the most popular major is like business. You're a business major, and you go to business school, and that's stupid. That's stupid. You know why? Because when you have a bunch of people spending all this money to be a business major, having a business degree, unless you're just going to go use that knowledge to start from scratch, start a small business, then, and in that case, you don't even need the degree, then it's inflation. It's the degree becomes useless. So that's part of why that whole thing, that people should go to school to learn something that they care about so that they can contribute something good that they've learned more about, and preferably something, in the sciences or the arts, where they can really contribute something to science and culture and stuff like this, instead of just like, I gotta pay this debt back. I don't know, business. It doesn't even work by its own logic or whatever, but that's a bit of a tangent. The point is that what this stuff is about, this dumb kind of like, we're going to whine about sports, it's literally just to distract from real issues, obviously. And the funny thing about it is that these issues are so boring and obvious and agreed upon, yet they're still doing all this little dance. You get Ben out there with his little suit and his little shoes on. I'm a little guy, and I like to distract people from the real issue. He does a little tap dance, and then he sits on Dennis Prager's lap, and they do an act where Dennis Prager drinks the water. These people are like, they're honestly like John Carpenter characters come to life. Like, I can't believe this stuff is real. This is how far behind we are in this country. A school in Ohio assigned YouTube videos from fake right-wing university PragerU for extra credit. This is from Gizmodo. Please, in this article, please tell me that it was assigned for kids to know like how to spot propaganda in online advertising. The teacher who's supposed to be leading these kids and helping them understand the world is literally pushing them down a demented, melted brain propaganda hole. Let's just read this together, guys, and let's learn and let's grow. There's learning, and then there's, quote, learning. According to a report in the Huffington Post on Tuesday, students in a 10th grade history class at Maumee High School in Ohio, Maumee High School in Ohio, were offered extra credit to do a little of the latter, to do some learning by watching videos produced by Prager University. That is not, in fact, a university, but a right-wing nonprofit and a YouTube channel founded by talk show host Dennis Prager. PragerU videos are often stocked with historical revisionism, xenophobic, and anti-Muslim propaganda. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Just click through their videos, you'll see some of that. Decrying feminism, climate change denial. Well, that makes sense because they're funded by oil industry people. And rhetoric asserting the quote-unquote left is a pathology centered around literally destroying the U.S. Despite this, PragerU has high production values. See, that's where people get caught up. You could get away with so much. You could get away with so much if it just looks good. And we're talking about you as a person. If you just kind of dress well and it's the Ed Wood thing. If you dress nice and speak well, people will buy anything. And the same with videos, same with production thing. We're like, wow, the animation's pretty good. I guess Muslims are literally in my house right now trying to kill me. I guess women are all evil. I guess black people are kind of bad too, because the animation on here is good. The tweening is really nice on these animations. So I'd like to believe all this stuff, please. God, these ads. This is so distracting. This right here. Anyway. Production values that help bolster its desired image as a sort of academic institution rather than a right-wing content farm. Its ethos is, and Prager himself has claimed as much, that watching YouTube videos of conservative pundits relaying the kind of talking points preferred by the House Freedom Caucus constitutes an educational experience. It's because a powerhouse of the conservative digital media ecosystem with over 2.8 million subscribers. Same with Ben Shapiro. Part of it is because they just pump money into ads, millions of dollars. Hundreds of thousands of dollars at least a month into paid ads, Google ads, and probably Facebook ads too. I got to get away from that goddamn ad. Let's just do this. Yeah, there we go. Eat it, ad. You don't get in my video. 3.8 million likes on Facebook and over half a million Twiddler follows. According to HuffPost, some of the videos assigned had titles like "Build the Wall," "Why the Right Was Right," and blah, 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 "Why the Left Ruins Everything." Conservatives are the real environmentalists. Okay, let's get to the school part. PragerU marketing exec. PragerU marketing exec Craig Zazza told HuffPost that in his nightmare vision of an ideal world, the nation's students would have PragerU content streamed directly into their eyeballs, a Clockwork Orange style. When I talked to the principal and vice principal, they acted like this was just another assignment. Andrea Cutway. By the way, Andrea, good catch. Don't let these lazy mutant teachers of yours get away with pumping propaganda into your classroom. Hero of the day, Andrea Cutway. The parent of she's a parent. Well, whatever. The parent, her son or daughter. The parent of a Maumee High School student who first drew attention. Yeah, okay, the kid. Good on you. Told HuffPo. That's brave. When you're a kid, these adults, these so-called authority figures who are stupid enough to fall for YouTube ads as educational content, It's hard to like go against them. It's hard to be like something's wrong here because they're an authority figure. So this kid, this parent, what's her name again? Andrea Cutway. You got a good kid and you did a good job raising your kid because she stood up for what's right with this just absolute fart knocker of a teacher playing this crap in a classroom. Imagine that. Imagine thinking that's okay. Hey, I saw this ad from a channel that's literally like absolutely filled with xenophobic, racist content. I'm gonna play this in my classroom because I saw it as a YouTube ad. Pfft, come on, man. I mean, maybe they don't. Maybe I mean, teachers are obviously mistreated and underpaid, and of course, I think that leads to them not having the time to read as much and learn on their own. So whatever. But still, like, come on, you got to be able to spot this stuff. This really is some scary stuff. I do feel like they have found a way to get into the public school system, this parent said. Cutway told HuffPo that administrators had first offered to introduce liberal content as a counterbalance. Though the site report, I mean, liberal content? I mean, what does that even mean? Are you talking about liberal in the way that it's understood in 2020, where it's like, what are you going to, like, have Hillary Clinton come in and do a talk or something? Or are you going to play a Hillary Clinton speech or something? Or, like, I mean, so we got to counterbalance. We got to have one site. We got to play videos from one site that says science is fake, and then we got to counterbalance that with what? Every other country in the world has a healthcare system that works, and we don't. These are equal. Muslims are all trying to kill you. Also, it might be a good idea for kids not to go into hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt for college. We need to counterbalance these two totally equal things. PragerU responded by tweeting, "The left is I'll do it in like one of their voices, like Adam Carolla. "The left is terrified that teachers are using PragerU videos in the classroom." If a teacher was like, okay, so you send your kid to high school or whatever, and your teacher's like, is like, you know that movie, what's a good, you know that movie, The Purge? That's actually based on real events. And you find out that your kid's teacher is saying this stuff. You'd be kind of, hopefully you would be either terrified or disgusted. More disgusted. I mean, the left is terrified, based on my very mild and obvious and science-based political beliefs. I guess PragerU, because I don't think we should roll out every possible red carpet for oil industry and hedge fund guys or whatever, and that we should do things that have been proven to work and proven to make countries happier and better and healthier and all that. I guess they would call me the left. I wouldn't say I'm terrified. I would say that I'm disgusted. Like if a teacher was like, Jurassic Park actually happened, but they're covering it up, I'll be like, this is, why are you telling my child these things? Hopefully you would be disgusted. Is Denny Prager? Is the Praguester? He just likes people barfing misinfo into his kid's brain. You okay with that? What's his name? The other one, the LA kid, Ben Shapiro. He has kids. He just likes. So if I came up to his kid and I was like, hey, your dad is actually he's like the Thing creature. Your dad is actually evil, and you should try to get away from him as soon as possible because he's actually like a mutant who's inhabited the body of a human. So you got to get out of there. I mean, I can't really help you out, but you got to figure out a way out. Wouldn't he be like, hey, don't say that to my kid? Hopefully. Anyway, let's look at some of the replies, maybe. Hey, what is this? How do I get replies? I hate these sites. Oh, you took me to another thing? Okay. Well, there you go. Another dumb video from Dum Dums.